Hello, I'm MC Toon. Today's video is by a guy called the Biker Scout. Now, this is a video from 2015, but it was reposted on TikTok recently. You won't believe the stuff he says, especially the very last thing he does is blatant lies. It's just over the top. You just watch this.
Greetings, fellow humans. I'm the Biker Scout. And a little background about me, other than the obvious Star Wars reference, I ride a motorcycle full time. But I'm a professional designer and photographer first. I've been using Photoshop since 2.0, is that 1990-ish? So I know my way around a computer and photo editing software. And I just had to make this video in response to the crap that NASA's been feeding us as scientific proofs for the general archives and public domain, when in fact they're employing very amateurish photo retouchers. I'm a stickler for details and an avid pixel peeper.
Ooh, a stickler for details, you say?
And I'll tell you what, if I was employed by NASA, the fake images would be flawless. There are so many absurd photographic anomalies in their archives, but I'm only going to focus on a couple that have all been released within the last few months here in 2015. So let's get started. All right, let's go straight to the horse's mouth here and download the image right off of NASA's website.
The first thing that this stickler for details missed was that he downloaded that particular photograph from the website that was the one that was meant to be for the website, not the one that was the scientific data version of it, not the 4 megapixel version of it. He got the low res one.
I'm a stickler for details.
So why wouldn't this stickler from details just go right into the website and download the highest resolution one?
With an exact sphere, that means they used Photoshop to delete the background, but they didn't do a very good job. As you can see here, there's a bunch of little random pixel anomalies floating in space. The most obvious that nobody really saw until you invert the image is up here. This is a strip of blue sky cloud that somebody forgot to erase. Now, this is very obvious when you invert the image back.
That is partially correct. The person that made the website took the original one, brought it into Photoshop, shrunk it down to make it suitable for viewing on a web page. You could go to the original and you would find on the original, like I did, that those things aren't there.
There's a lot of things about this image that I don't really like in terms of clarity and definition that just can't be taken from a 4 megapixel camera from 1 million miles away. I mean, the detail's astonishingly ridiculous. I mean, you can clearly make out the Central Valley in California. You know, you can see land details. I'm sorry, 4 megapixels, 1 million miles away. I don't know.
So why is it a problem that you can see the detail from this distance? Why? No idea why. You didn't say anything other than, I don't know.
Let's check out Commander Scott Kelly's photograph of the Earth, Moon, Venus transit. First, let's open it and do what we did before. We'll invert the image and we'll see if there's any strange things afoot. My suspicion was the lens flare. It looked too Hollywoodish to me. It looked too much like a plug-in or a filter. But I was blown away when I saw this really glaringly obvious cover-up of something. Now, to me, it looks like they just took the brush tool and blocked something out by just selecting black, but they didn't use the eyedropper tool to sample the nearest color black. So they're, like I said, blacks aren't all the same once you start looking at it as an inverted image. It looks black. Now, they may have blocked something out for artistic reasons, but as soon as you do that, it's a manipulated image, and you can't claim it as authentic.
Well, maybe you should look at what they claim about it. This isn't part of a science mission. It's just a photograph that Commander Kelly took and then tweeted. So, did he edit the bottom of it and remove something there? Probably. It might have been something in the way. He wasn't trying to hide anything. And if somebody had manufactured that image, that's not how they would have done it. It would have been consistent.
Everybody might remember this one. This is the famous moon transiting the Earth in front of NASA's DISCVR satellite that's 1 million miles away, parked out in geosynchronous orbit. Okay, let's right-click this bad boy, put it in Photoshop. It's a GIF for animated purposes, but the cool thing about GIFs is you can actually open them up in Photoshop and you can see all the layers that the GIF is made out of. Kind of cool. So let's zoom in here and check it out. All right, you start activating layers and the moon comes into frame, but what is this? Why is the leading edge of the moon green? Obviously, that shouldn't be like that.
Well, why is the leading edge green? That is a great question. And Mr. Stickler for Details
I'm a stickler for details.
missed a detail. If you go to the web page, you can go there today and you can scroll down and you can look, and it actually describes what is happening and how it takes the photographs. It takes multiple photographs in succession, each time with a different color filter in front of the camera. Now, if he had scrolled down and read that same thing, he would have known the answer to the question he asked. But he didn't. Mr. Stickler for Details missed that detail.
I'm a stickler for details.
Now, you might say, wait a second. That's a copy of the website from today. They certainly added it since then, and it wasn't there when Mr. Stickler for Details looked at it. Well, you would be wrong, because you are looking at a version that I picked up from archive.org on the very day that Stickler for Details made this video. That's right, it's been there the whole time. It was on the web page when he asked why there's a green fringe on it. The answer was right there.
So what's going on here is NASA has south parked a dim moon image because they said it's the dark side of the moon. So obviously we think the image needs to appear darker.
Oh, you're confused. It's actually Pink Floyd that calls it the dark side of the moon. NASA calls it the far side of the moon. And it's supposed to be that color. The moon is dark gray. Its albedo is 18%.
But it's passing right in front of the Earth, in front of the sun, sun, full moon. So that means it should be bright, really bright, bright as the clouds.
And here we see the professional photographer.
I'm a professional designer and photographer.
Showing his professionalness. I don't think he quite understands exposure. The moon is dark gray. Clouds are white. They should not be the same color.
There's a lot of problems with this, image that people have noted already. The clouds obviously don't move.
Well, the Stickler for Details seems to have neglected to add in his analysis of the cloud movement. He did that, right? Well, no, of course he didn't. He just said it. He didn't actually analyze anything.
I'm a stickler for details.
But if you do, look, I did this figure 8 pattern. I zoomed in on it over the entire course of the couple hours that it is showing here. It does in fact move. You would not expect it to move much because it's a gigantic weather pattern. Small movements from this distance of something that size is exactly what you would expect.
But the one thing that I really dislike about this image is the fact that who's got the real moon? Commander Scott Kelly has a picture of the moon from the space station, and he's 237 miles away from his vantage point. Now, or 237,000 miles away from his vantage point. And this DISCVR satellite image is 1 million miles away, minus 237 miles the distance between the Earth and the moon, yet it looks like a dim, dead rock.
And here's where I'm going to call BS on him being a photographer.
I'm a professional designer and photographer.
Because a photographer understands exposure. The photo on the left is exposed to see the stars. The Earth is barely illuminated and the moon is completely blown out. On the right one, the photograph is exposed correctly for the Earth. You can't see the stars at all. They're too dim in comparison to the Earth. And of course, the moon is dark gray, as you would expect for proper exposure. Yeah, I don't think he's a photographer. Hey, Del, what do you think about this guy?
I'm sick and tired of reality denying, incompetent, woefully ignorant retards like you, son.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, now we get to the part where he just blatantly lies.
Here's one last image showing a famous Earth shot from the International Space Station. It's beautiful. NASA uses Nikon, like I said before. So Commander Kelly has graciously taken a picture, selfie, of his own camera, so we see what model it is. We can even see that there's a massive fisheye lens on this thing. But knowing those two things is key ingredient in fixing the photos. So in Photoshop, there's a lens distortion correction filter you can use. You just plug in what kind of camera you have, what kind of lens you have, boom, voila, it flattens the image out and corrects the distortion, whether it's pincushion or barrel distortion or even fisheye.
So here's where the Stickler for Details really messes up. That particular photograph was taken in 2003. And he said it was taken by Commander Scott Kelly. The problem is that Commander Scott Kelly wasn't first on the ISS until 2007.
Oops.
The stickler for details missed that by only 4 years. And that selfie that Commander Scott Kelly took of the camera with that particular lens on it, well, he got that wrong too, because the photograph from 2003 was taken not on a Nikon camera, but on a Kodak camera with a Nikon lens. And I know that it's a Nikon lens because the EXIF information says so. And I commented about this in the video. And the Biker Scout responded with his other account, EcoMouse. And I know it's EcoMouse is him because I listened to his videos. It's the same voice. And he even has some of the same video titles and content. And he was a bit angry with me, and he had some choice words for me, talking about EXIF information as if I didn't know. Of course, I do know. If you've watched any of my videos, you would. And the photograph of the lens that he's talking about is actually an 8mm lens that can't even take a rectangular photo. It's a true fisheye lens. The photos it takes are round. He said that he took that picture, brought it into Photoshop, and applied the automatic lens correction filter for that particular camera and lens. Well, the problem is that the particular lens that it is a round one. So if he actually did that, it would be drastically different. Well, he doesn't know what lens was on it actually. So what I did is I brought that photo into Photoshop. I chose the Nikon lens family, and I tested every single lens that Photoshop has listed. Every one of them. And you can see as I go through them all here in fast motion, none of them make the horizon look how he made the horizon look. How did that happen? Was it an automatic lens correction? Of course it was not. It could not. He doesn't know what lens was on there. He had to do something else. I don't know exactly what he did, but this is my guess. I think he went into the manual adjustment, and he brought that slider all the way to the side so that it would flatten out the horizon as much as he could. But he couldn't get it the first time. At least I couldn't get it the first time. I had to apply it 3 times. And when I was done applying it 3 times, it looked pretty flat, but the edges were curved up just a little bit too much. So then I looked at his and I said, oh my goodness, his is cropped. The original version had a bunch more photo on the edges and on the top and bottom. He cropped it to get rid of any curviness there. So here you see me doing the exact same cropping. And you can compare what I did to what he did. And it looks pretty similar, but it's an absolute intentional deception that he did to force the horizon to look flat. He didn't use an automatic lens adjustment. There is no Nikon lens adjustment that accomplishes that. I tested every one of them. So there it is, the Biker Scout. He lied. He just blatantly lied. He wanted the outcome to look a certain way, and he forced it. So the Biker Scout, that's embarrassing for you. 7 years later, 8 years later, it's been sitting there. Are you going to leave it up? Are you going to apologize? Are you going to make a video saying, yes, here is how you manipulated that in order? I kind of doubt you will, but I wish that you would be honest, because that particular desktop pattern that you have where you are accusing NASA of lying, well, you're the one that did it. And that's, I think, the one from Rob Skiba, who, well, that makes him and he's a religiflerf, and I suppose you're a religiflerf too. And so you look to the Bible. Well, the Bible doesn't have kind words to say about people that intentionally lie. So you're accusing NASA of lying, but you're the one lying. So anyway, if you've made it this far, thank you very much. Please do like and subscribe, and maybe you want to go and let the Biker Scout know your feelings on how he did this. I will link his video in the description so that you can go and congratulate him on such a great video.
I have become comfortably dumb.